Cento of contraband poetry. Theognis octopus, its peekaboo style, hieroglyphs, mute pebbles, the sight of truth and nonsense, archaeology of the mute signs sleeping on the body of ordinary things. My limbs dense with reference, but medically approaching harmlessness, my fortress is not secured, my home dense with reference, a myth constructed by servants. Desire for a Christ, a cultic formation, all I need is one skull or a fragment, German cognates and Latin equivalents, undigestible phrase, paradigms of ritual, but in the story of a private personal life. Famous writer and Iowa Writers' Workshop chairperson Ezra Pound's economic theories, implicated in historical demise, undigestible phrase, hieroglyphs, the slimy rubbing part that is part of the technical side of masturbation, latent life of an archaic form, nonsense, the origin of meaning, not having to speak correctly into the ductless hall, not simply having an aesthetic experience, not simply to understand what the poet means, a non-relational transaction characteristic of all entities, animate or inanimate, which constitutes the very substance of being. I've always stolen from work, survived on junk food from it sometimes, never money. That's important clarification. This stealing must not be confused with the separate practice of labor and wages and their inherent absurdities. Well, hello, I help people for a paycheck. Well, hello there, I'm an elected official using my family like jewelry from the QVC accessories wall while their private lives for a paycheck. Well, hello there, I'm a CIA infiltrator and founding the Paris Review as my cover for a paycheck. Stealing money is always a mimicry of wages, commodifying theft into compensated labor. This is stealing as a reciprocal act. Work is the site and agency of theft, the stealing of the workers' lives born into clothing of paycheck. This is a minuscule reproduction of the original large theft perpetuated by work, the removal of objects from capital by the removal from work, shifting them into the contraband economy of poetry. Like thousands of dollars of copies stolen while working for Office Depot created chapbooks and journals, also known as the impossibility of compensation. Theft was not only physical labor and toner, but the intention of labor and mode of production. Or cans of air taken and used for toys at work, but never leaving the building, taken from saleable items and work to be enjoyed, and to enjoy a moment of life. Or here, using contraband poems as a means of theft of a worker's own drive to excel. That projector has never been used here, and I need it for projecting the apocalypse. We'd like to get a better feel for what you're doing during the workday. What are some projects you've been working on? Unity of the body with projection, brought by divine work. Theurgy, highly ritualized reciprocity of theft at work. Perfection of the worker through multiple minor thefts from work, mimicking the single larger theft of workers' lives by work. It's through our own imitative theft that we project the stolen lives onto ourselves. Dress yourselves in divine armor, the clothing of work, the congregation in please be here with me and in love. Before closing, I want to ask how many people in our entire room making new journals, pamphlets to get us fantasy arrested? I don't want to be alone. I'm in favor of everything. I'm in favor of cutting itself into more and more miniature teams of itself, something to build the ecclesia. I want to be clear that answering David Brazil before wasn't dismissive of the question, but it was hyperlinked to his essay on labor, closing on a labor, close reading 1 Corinthians 7:20, each in the calling in which he was called, in that same calling let him remain. And I want that essay painted against my wall, behind what we're watching, and we read along as the recording of his voice reads along. In Paul, ecclesia means the name of the church itself, the mystical body of those ones called out, as Israel was itself called out among the nations to heed the call. In our secular phenomenological account, I postulate the ecclesia as those singularities have experienced the call, volatilized by its seeming irreconcilability with their worldly station, and therefore affined to those in whom they recognize a kindred predicament. The ecclesia should be envisioned as a small group of militants. And I want David Brazil's essay to me by John Chrysostom's Portrait of Paul, where I speak to it while stealing from work, offering my questions, and when you look through the door at me, you see someone standing over my shoulder and whispering in my ear as I write. And I want all of my writing to act out the city, dull, apocalyptic, and constantly theft. A collapsing of time, a highly ritualized technology of telescoping the past. Thank you very much.